if you think of Craigslist, this guy Craig, right, decides that, hey, wouldn't it be great if we had a platform where we could buy and sell things? Right? So he goes through and he's coming up with this strategy, much like we do in our daily jobs and in our work. We come up with these different ways to think about it. And so he did the same thing. He said, okay, well, this should be a beautiful user interface. And it should have drop-down menus, and it should have a back-end database and a CRM and like recommendations for other things to be purchased. And he put together this whole plan, but he said, wait a second. Let me just stop for a second. And first, put up a site so that I can see whether or not people understand and people want to just buy and sell items off of this site. So he put up this site which literally just had a page of black and white links, right, of things that you could buy and sell and the price. And he sent this out to a couple of people, and people were like, this is phenomenal. This is amazing. I love how simple it is. I love how there's not this beautiful interface and this back-end logic and this database structure and all these sorts of things. And what happened was he went straight from uncovering opportunities to managing growth and exit. Right? He uncovered the opportunity, decided that he didn't have to assemble those resources, and continued doing all of this other functionality, and he crushed it. Meanwhile, there's other people at the time who are trying to do the same thing. They had the same idea. And so they spent 2 years, 3 years putting together the technology, hiring the developers, putting together the database structure, all of these things. When they finally launched, they had a beautiful product. But it was too late because Craigslist was already dominant in the market, right? And so one of the sort of pieces of the entrepreneurial mindset is this nonlinear thinking. The other thing that entrepreneurship entails, the 3 core pieces, is improvisation, bricolage, and managing under uncertainty, right? Improvisation, that one's pretty simple, right? It's when we're not completely, I always say, it's when my students haven't done the reading and they get cold called. That's improvisation, right? Bricolage, does anyone know what bricolage is? Yeah, bricolage, in the US, in the States, people are like, what is that word? But here, right, bricolage, it's a French word, right? And the best way to that I love to think about bricolage is, there's a show that used to be on called MacGyver. Does anyone know? Okay, I love how there's head nods, because usually I say, have you heard of MacGyver? And my 20-something students, it's like a sea of blank faces. But so MacGyver, right, there's this guy, and he's this brilliant mastermind, and there's always some big travesty in the world. There's some big issue in the world, and so someone comes and says, MacGyver, there's somebody who wants to bomb the world, and we need you to come in and save us. And so MacGyver comes in, and he's like, I got this under control, no problem. And so over the course of a 30-minute or a 60-minute episode, he's like, ooh, a glass of wine, and a paper clip, and a wad of chewing gum, and a rubber band. And he puts it together. And in the last 30 seconds of the show, he pushes a button, the bomb fizzles, and the world is saved. That's bricolage. Entrepreneurs do it all the time because you have entrepreneurs who are resource constrained. And so they have to take what they can find on hand and put it together and assemble it in innovative, distinct, unique ways because they don't have the resources to get what they think they need. And instead, they take what they have on hand and assemble it in ways that really are impactful, right? And so in organizations, when we think about being entrepreneurial, that's another way that we can actually do all of these, think outside the box, make all of those sorts of things that are encompassed in that entrepreneurship word that we can have the opportunity to do on a daily basis. And finally, managing under uncertainty. So when we think about uncertainty, what happens is that we often confound uncertainty with risk. We think about uncertainty and risk as the exact same things. And so what I study is, in a lot of my research, is how we use our gut feel to make decisions. How do we make decisions under conditions of extreme uncertainty, when we don't know probabilities, or we don't have the outcomes in advance, or we don't know how things are going to pan out. And there are ways that we can actually quantify our gut feel. There's ways that we think about that gut feel, the patterns, the schemas, the prototypes that we use in ways that are not stereotypically emotional or quick thinking or biased and so on and so forth.